Good morning and welcome to your Carline Devo of the week. Today I wanted to talk about rhythm and how important it is to have a baseline in our life. If you read last week's blog, it was called Simple, and it talked about our heart attitude and how we can carry that simple focus that we strive so much to have during the holidays through our entire year if our heart is focused in the right direction. If you didn't get a chance to read it, head on over to sothatgod.com, check it out for yourself. But first, I want to give you just a little bit of an idea of where that simple heart attitude can come from. My son Isaiah plays the electric bass, and he's in a jazz band. It is not the most exciting instrument in the jazz band because his job is to keep the rhythm for the rest of the band. And usually the note doesn't change. It's only a couple of notes per piece of music, and his job is to simply keep the cadence of the song. Everybody else gets to, it's a jazz band, so they get to go off script a little bit and have some fun with it. And his job is just to make sure that people know when to come in and out of the piece of music. It can be a little boring, but it is extremely important. If he gets off, it throws everybody else off. That baseline, that rhythm is important. I think that it is just important in our life. Life does this. It goes up and down with just daily life, and then other things that happen that could be big or small. And our emotions, our hearts tend to do this. The Bible reminds us that our hearts are deceitful above all else. So what is it that creates that baseline in our lives and gives us joy and helps us have that simple focus on the Lord as our life does this? Don't you sometimes feel like your life is the trumpet? It's just going crazy, and you just want that rhythm in the background to keep you steady. Well, I wanted to share a couple of verses and a couple of ways that we can keep that baseline in the back of our hearts, so that no matter what happens, we can continue to move forward and run the race set before us. So the first one is we need to have an eternal focus. Psalm 16, 8 through 9 says, I have set the Lord continually before me. Because he is at my right hand, I will not be shaken. Therefore my heart is glad and my glory rejoices. My flesh also will dwell securely. When we have an eternal view on our life, we have to set our eyes on Jesus. And when we set our eyes on the Lord, it says that we are not shaken. So our trumpet of a life may be blaring in certain areas, but our hearts, our attitudes, they don't have to change. They don't have to waver, because we will not be shaken when our eyes are set on the Lord. And then when, sometimes jazz and blues, they get a little crazy, but then they get real low and emotional. And sometimes our lives get like that. When our eyes are set on the Lord, our heart can continue to rejoice and be glad despite the trials that we are going through. And finally, when our eyes are set on the Lord, we can dwell securely. We don't have to worry about the earthly, fleshy things all around us, because we know that our hope is set on something eternal, on Jesus Christ. The other verse that I wanted to share with you is Hebrews 12, 1 through 2. I'm working on memorizing this one, and if you've watched any of these, I've shared how difficult that is for me. I don't know why, they just don't stick up there, but I'm trying really hard. I'm going to read it so that I don't mess it up. Therefore, since we have so great a cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us lay aside every burden and sin which so easily entangles us, and let us run with endurance the race before us. Here's the key: fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame. He sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. This last weekend, It was snowing, and so we stayed home and we watched a teaching by Stephen Furtick. He's one of Matt's favorite podcasts and online pastors to keep up with. And he was talking about this idea of joy and the constant consistency, that's the word that I want, that joy should have in our lives. Even if it's doing this, joy should be our baseline. And one of the things that he shared at the end that just really struck my heart was the idea that if we want joy to be constant in our life, even if life is doing this, then we need to have focus and direction. And it goes back to that idea of having our eyes set on eternal things and on Jesus. And he said that one of the truths, the eternal truths that we can focus on, is the fact that God is always working. And because he's always working, he's the one that started it, and he's the one that is going to finish it. And even Jesus knew that he was going to go through a trial. But he said, for the joy set before him, he wasn't focused on the trial, he was focused on the end product. And it gave him joy to go through the trial of enduring the cross. He set an example for us. Whatever trial we are going through, we can set our eyes on the end product and have hope because we know that our God is going to finish it. And we can have joy through the ups and downs of life. Joy becomes our baseline. It's the cadence and it's the rhythm of our life, no matter what happens. So my hope and prayer for you today is that you can look past the trial, look past the busyness of the day, and hold on to that simple truth that Jesus is the author and finisher of your faith, and therefore you can have joy no matter what is going around you. It's really quite simple. So that God gets the glory. Have a wonderful day.